Stay one step ahead with Dubai Eye.
Shining a light on companies that are manufacturing across the Emirates. And today we kick off with one of the UAE's sweetest industrial facilities. It is a chocolate factory. Martin van Almsick of Nassma camel-milk chocolate joins us in the studio to talk us through the decade since they launched production facilities. Martin, good morning. Thanks very much indeed for being with us. It's good to see you.
Good morning. Thanks, and good to be back after 10 years.
So 10th anniversary of manufacturing camel-milk chocolate in the UAE. Let's go back to that moment 10, probably 11 or 12 years ago, when you decided that this was going to be a good idea. How did it all start?
Well, it started with the existence of Camelicious, basically the first provider of state-of-the-art camel milk. That's a modern 21st century camel dairy, and that is what we chocolate people need to make good chocolate. So that was essential, and so when we had that, the basics right, we could then create a concept that would represent the UAE on a global chocolate stage with a premium chocolate.
Now, we have had some food manufacturing here in the UAE. I mean, it's been around a while, hasn't it? Particularly in places like Dubai Investments Park and up in the Northern Emirates as well. But this was something slightly different, wasn't it? What were the challenges when it came to setting up this essentially chocolate factory here in the UAE?
Yeah, the first challenge was the fact that it was made with camel milk. I mean, that sounds a little bit weird, and believe me, there were no big hugs when you came up and you said you wanted to produce chocolate. It was camel milk. There was no red carpets. We had first to send the milk powder to Austria in order to manufacture the chocolate. Malcolm will recall that that was quite a challenge. We had to change basically EU legislation in order to do that. And there were a lot of people involved here in the UAE, including municipality, UAE Ministry for Environment and Water, our friends at Camelicious. Many people had to work at that. And when
so just take us back. You had to take the Camelicious camel milk, you had to turn it into powder, and you had to send it to Austria.
Exactly, to have it made into chocolate Mars, which then was shipped here by container, because there was no facility here in the UAE that could actually produce chocolate. So
right.
We had to do that this way initially before we had our own chocolate factory.
So, okay, Brandy, you've got a question.
No, I'm interested in how far it can go, but I'll wait till we finish talking about how it's made.
So that was how it started off, going to powder and then chocolate came back here. Where are we now, 10 years later? I know you got a factory that you opened a few years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And that changed the story for us significantly. Now we can really focus on doing what we are best at, making a really good chocolate, creating a brand, a concept that we are selling all across the world, really. And to be able to do that, we had to have a premium brand that has a certain quality that people would come back to and demand from retailers that previously wouldn't take it. If you look at the industry at the moment, it's an industry of giants, really, who have a lot of marketing firing power, and they buy shelf space, and we can't compete in that. So we can only compete in that if we have a superior product and we have demand from an audience. And this is what we had to establish over the years.
What's the value of those global sales that you talked about?
The global chocolate industry values at 130 billion US dollars.
And how much? What sort of share have you got of
Nassma
that?
is looking at, we're not competing in this market, really. We are creating our own market. That's the camel-milk chocolate industry. And that is completely different, all the ways we attack it. So
I suppose what I'm asking is,
it's a small slice.
What is the value of your global sales?
Our global sale is, as we discussed last time, is an 8-digit figure, which is growing. And once it reached a 9-digit figure, you'll be the first to know.
Can you tell me how much you're selling in terms of volume then?
Look, volumes, we are looking at a 300 kilo batch that we can produce every 12 hours. So we could theoretically produce 600 kilos of chocolate Mars every 24 hours.
How much are you producing at the moment?
This depends also on the amount of camel milk that we have available. Yeah. So current levels, you have to imagine, is about 100 tons.
I remember in the early days that the amount of camel milk you get your hands on was quite a drawback. Is that still a drawback?
No, not anymore. I mean, in our kind of niche industry, we will always look at bottlenecks somewhere. Yeah. But this is our role to manage that nicely. But at the moment, it's working for us. The trend and the tendency in the market is clearly in our favor. Premiumization, people are willing to spend more on superior premium products.
Yeah, on that note, I mean, I can remember when you could buy the chocolate from you, or maybe you could get it in Dubai duty free, but you're now in Spinneys. What's had to happen for that to take place?
Well, that is exactly what I tried to describe. People were asking in the supermarkets of Waitrose and Spinneys for our products, and which they couldn't get, because at that time we weren't ready for that. So they called us in and asked us, and we now have an exclusivity agreement with them. We're in selected outlets at very nice positionings. And initially, 10 years ago, we wouldn't have thought that we'd be available in supermarkets. On the other hand, we have to acknowledge that supermarkets have changed. Now, 10 years down the road, they become really nice oases of shopping where it's nice and it's pleasant to shop. And also, we want to make it more convenient for our friends to find us here in the UAE.
So talk to me about setting up the factory, the chocolate factory here in the UAE. Where's your factory now? What did it cost you to build that facility? What can you tell us about that? Where do you buy a chocolate factory from?
Well, the problem is that the factory is located in Dubai Silicon Oasis, which is not far away from the Camel Farm, which is located on Al Ain Road. Yeah? So it's quite close to that. But the problem is, as you rightly mentioned, where do you buy a chocolate factory, specifically for a size of our dimensions? Yeah? 100 tons, this is normally where the chocolate industry doesn't talk to you in this kind of dimension. We're way
you're
too
too
small.
small. You're
yes,
too, yeah.
Exactly. And there's no machinery available for our kind of sizes. Yeah.
Your director of sales, Patrick Duray, said the global duty-free and travel retail channel is one of the brand's core distribution pillars. How much of that global travel and duty-free revenue comes from the UAE alone?
I would see that be in the range of 35 to 40%.
Only 35? So a lot of other duty-frees around the world are taking it up.
Saudi Arabia is doing very nicely in many cities. A place like Cairo is a nice city for us to be in.
It's at the airport, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So duty-free enables us to be a brand, to tell our story at the point of sale, which is very important to us. And we tend to think that it also draws people into the shop. Chocolate is an impulse category. Nobody really goes into an airport thinking, oh, where can I buy my chocolate? No,
I don't know. Think of at least two people in this studio.
Meet Brandy Scott.
But if you see it, then you think, oh, there's Auntie XYZ, I need to buy a little present. And maybe if they don't buy ours because we are too expensive, they buy another one. Yeah. So we help the category. This is what we tend to think.
So in terms of your business, how's it performing at the moment? 10th anniversary year. Is your revenue, I know you can't tell us the full details, you're a private company, but is revenue down, flat or up in 2018 for you guys?
It's up, slightly up, I would say. I guess we'll be ending with a plus of 8%, I could imagine. Personally, in our kind of business, I don't believe in the big leaps. I believe in the constant little steps, every year a little bit more, every year a little bit further down the road in terms of distribution. And of course, in innovation, that is what we are good at. We are agile, we are small.
Well, you talk about innovation's interesting because we heard from Khaldoon Mubarak earlier on from Mubadala saying the next phase for UAE manufacturing is innovation. How do you innovate in chocolate? I mean, I know you brought in with you Burj Khalifa made out of camel-milk chocolate. There's a white, is it a soccer World Cup that you've got with you in honour of the Dubai Fitness Challenge? Where's innovation in chocolate in the next 5 to 10 years, Martin?
There is a strong tendency all over the world for all natural, healthy, better-for-you products. And there's a lot of fire now on palm oil, on sugar. We don't work with palm oil or these kind of products anyhow, but sugar is something we are looking at the moment. And we have an expo coming up, which is a beautiful window for us to showcase this and really to make a giant leap to become a real global brand. And we are selling already to a global audience. And now the global audience is coming to us during the expo, and we will be ready for that.
In terms of manufacturing here in the UAE, because this Made in the UAE series that we're launching is about, A, shining a light on companies that are doing it, but hopefully encouraging others to do it. How do the economics stack up? It's never going to be the cheapest country in the world to make anything, is it, Martin? It's a wealthy country. How do you compete?
It does not apply for us. We have an internal joke. We are saying we're always getting 3 quotations and then we are taking the most expensive one. I mean, we are a different company. We are buying ridiculously expensive vanilla, €600 a kilo in our chocolate. Yeah, and of course you have to have the customer who appreciates that and wants to spend money for it.
Where was the price of vanilla when you started?
300.
Okay, so it's doubled, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we don't.
Have you
use
doubled your selling price in that time?
No, we haven't. Of course, yeah. And one thing I have to make clear also for the audience: if you're going to any retailer, 30, 40, 50% of the retail price is actually with the retailer.
So Colin McLaughlin benefits as much as anyone from this down at Dubai Duty Free. They
are the ones actually who helped us from day one. We owe them a lot. And they were the ones who really understood our concept the very first time, and they helped us until today.
Very quickly, the reason that actually you're sitting in this chair is that you pinged me an email on Wednesday. You heard me talking about the fact that I was going to Cologne in Germany for a furniture exhibition, and you said, that's my home city. And then we started going back and forth. And I said, well, we got this new series on Made in the UAE. And then you hear, but what can the UAE learn from a country like Germany, your home country, and that whole kind of Ruhr Valley, the industrial heartland of Germany, about becoming a real manufacturing hub? We're not quite there yet, but we want to be. What lessons could we learn from somewhere like Germany?
I don't know if we can learn anything from Germany in particular. Look, we are a team of international guys here. I think we have what it takes. We have the motivation, we have the skills, we have the desire to produce something outstanding. And we have people there from India, from the Philippines, from Canada, from all across the globe. And they bring together a team that is proud on what they achieve. I think that's team building is something. If that's particularly something that comes from Germany, I'm not so sure. That's maybe something that comes from Dubai and that Dubai promotes in a way.
Martin, great talking to you. Really appreciate you joining us today to kick off our series Made in the UAE. Martin van Almsick is the General Manager of Al Nassma Chocolate. I'm going to be coming down to your chocolate factory later on this week to get some nice videos for social media. But for now, appreciate your time.
Welcome anytime. Thank you very much.
Stay one step ahead with Dubai Eye.